Hey, everybody. Thanks for waiting. Glad you're all still here with me tonight. Yeah, it's been a while. First I thought I was going to be streaming at 10 p.m. tonight, was going to talk about something. And then the breaking news happened. And then I was going to stream at 8, but then I kept being live about it hour after hour. I was on RT covering it. I'm exhausted, but I just turned off my big lights and got some fresh air, got some unnamed water beverage. Now I'm here for all of you, and we'll talk for a little bit. I do have to get some sleep, got church in the morning. But yeah, it should be fun. So thanks for being here tonight. We obviously are going to react to what just happened today. Forgive me for being a little bit lighthearted. I've been talking about it for the past 6-7 hours. And that's one of the things about being a news reporter is, you have to kind of learn to laugh in the face of tragedy, laugh in the face of danger. Today's events are certainly a big deal. So let's put on the opening music. I'll just give you my thoughts. I'll answer any questions that you all have. Thanks for being here so late with me. Was hoping I could stream in the immediate aftermath of it, but I had to do my job as a reporter, and that's fine because we're not trying to win social media anymore. So there we go.
Spoken of the American century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be and must be the century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few.
We now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
We need a government of action.
Alrighty. So welcome everybody. Glad to be here with all of you. Hit the like. Oh, not saying that no more, right? We had new change on this channel where we don't say that no more. But it's a late night stream, a very, very late night stream, because I was covering the breaking news that happened. The way we do this is I give my remarks, which tonight are not going to be too long because I do have to get up in the morning, and it's been a long night. I'm a little tired. Was just on the air for like 6 hours straight covering this, which is fine because it's my job. It's breaking news, but I'm a little bit, at the end of my rope, took off my suit, turned off the big light, and it got a lot cooler in this room really quick, which is good, right? Which is very, very good. So I'll give my remarks. Then we'll do a roll call. We'll find out who is watching, and then I answer your questions. And tonight we are only on YouTube. So if you have a super chat you would like me to answer, I will answer it in the second half of the program. So get your super chats and your questions ready. That's the way we roll. Couple announcements. I always make announcements. And today, just like every other day, we are trying to do morning messages from CPI every day. Every single day. That is our goal. Now we recently got going again, and we are hoping to not stop and keep our momentum. And so we are making these morning messages so that people can start their day with revolutionary hope and optimism from the Center for Political Innovation. Morning messages. Start your day with revolutionary hope and optimism. We got a great one tomorrow. That's been scheduled. Not going to give away too much from it. The morning message. It's actually this morning message from tomorrow. All I'll say is that it's by a great member of our community who I've met before, and it's on location. Just like, this morning, the morning message was from Killian in Milwaukee, showing where the Daily Show set up, in Milwaukee. This one is also at kind of an iconic location. I had not exactly heard about this location. So watch the morning message tomorrow. We are trying to schedule one every day so that people can start their day with revolutionary hope and optimism. It's about community building. This is about more than just me. This is about a network of people who are committed to anti-imperialism and community values and rebuilding our country and saving our country from the nightmare of imperialism and capitalism. So, based on that, hold on. I have never. All right. Hold on. Based on that, hold on. That's odd. Okay. This is a crazy night. Crazy things are happening. Crazy things are happening. Anyhow, based on that, because we want people to be making morning messages. Let me get the morning message thing back on the screen. Based on that, we do have a link now for people to make their own morning message. If you want to submit a morning message, that is something that you can do. We do have that option. So if you'd like to submit a morning message of your own, you can send it in. Here you go. All righty. Okay. Submit a morning message. We appreciate morning message submissions. We want people in our community to be connected with each other. And so there you go. There you go. So yeah, like I said, folks, I'm just going to give you straight from the horse's mouth my thoughts on what just happened. Then after that, I will answer any questions y'all got, and it's not going to be too long for tonight because I am exhausted. I must say. So at this point, I will tell you what's on my mind. So yeah, I guess I'll just tell you from from the first thing that you should all know is, so my plan for tonight. Well, no, I'll tell you my day later. You don't need to hear about me. That's not why you all came here. You came here to hear my thoughts on what happened. First things first. I don't know if you noticed, but from the anti-imperialist countries of the world, there is an outpouring of support for Donald Trump right now. Nicolas Maduro gave a statement of support to Donald Trump in light of today's events. Now, that doesn't match what Donald Trump did as president of the United States, because Donald Trump was very, very anti-Venezuela. He recognized Juan Guaido. It was very, very anti-Venezuela. John Bolton was directing the anti-Venezuela policy of Donald Trump. John Bolton, Elliot Abrams, and Mike Pompeo. And Donald Trump did everything he could to try and destabilize and overthrow Venezuela, but he failed. And Donald Trump just faced, an attempted assassination. And Maduro was speaking publicly, and not just a tweet, but a public statement. He said, nope, this is wrong. we stand with Trump against this assassination. That's a big deal. And let me tell you something else. The Cuban president, yes, the president of Cuba, has also spoken up in support of Donald Trump in light of this. Now, what's that? Donald Trump rolled back a lot of the changes that Barack Obama made with Cuba. Donald Trump went to Miami and pandered to the anti-Cuba crowd, but yet the president of Cuba has spoken up in support of Donald Trump around this issue, around what happened today. I think that's quite interesting. And it's also quite interesting in light of the fact that Elliott Abrams, well, I can't speak for Elliott Abrams, but John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, 2 out of the 3 people that were directing Donald Trump's foreign policy with regards to Venezuela and Cuba, have turned against him. I don't know if you noticed this, but John Bolton not only quit the Trump White House, but he said that if Donald Trump is ever elected president, NATO will be disbanded. If he's elected president again, there's no more NATO. John Bolton is solidly in the anti-Trump camp. Mike Pompeo supported prosecuting Donald Trump over supposed and the raid on Mar-a-Lago. He supported that. Mike Pompeo has turned against Trump. So the people that were directing Donald Trump's policy in attacking Venezuela and attacking Cuba no longer support Donald Trump. The people, John Bolton, who sabotaged the meetings between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, who said, oh, Libyan options are on the table, was basically sabotaging the meetings with North Korea. John Bolton, he's turned against Donald Trump. Meanwhile, in light of today's assassination attempt, we have the leaders of Cuba and the leaders of Venezuela speaking up in support of Donald Trump. And this isn't the first time something like this has happened. You'll notice that after the 2020 elections, the president of Mexico, AMLO, the previous president of Mexico, he spoke up in support of Trump. And he said he'd been the victim of rigged elections before, stolen elections, and that he didn't recognize Biden immediately. And he said that he thought there was something suspicious about the election results. I mean, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Another parallel I'd like to draw, another thing I'd like to point out, right? So Donald Trump was having his rally. A guy with a rifle, with a sniper rifle, we now learn, was taking shots at Trump. The Secret Service killed that guy, blew his brains out. End of story. But there's something odd. Well, not something odd, but before we get to that, right? Before we get to that, let's just talk about the facts here. Now, if Donald Trump was shot in the ear, right? It was the top of his right ear that was shot. Do you know how close that is to a kill shot? That is really, really close to a kill shot. You know, there's the old story about William Tell. You ever hear about William Tell? Right? Well, William Tell, the legendary folk hero of, what was it, the Netherlands or Denmark or Norway? Where is William Tell from? William Tell is the legendary folk hero of where? Of Switzerland. William Tell, the story of William Tell is that, William Tell is, the cruel tyrant or whatever forces him to shoot an apple off of a child's head. And if he can shoot the apple off the child's head, he'll let him go. That was the story. The reason that that's such a, ghastly thing in a story is anyone who's ever worked with a firearm or anyone who's ever worked with a bow and arrow knows that if you're taking aim at an apple on the top of a kid's head, the chances of you hitting the kid in the head are very, very good. So you don't want to do that. So, taking a shot at Donald Trump that hits his ear is very close to killing Donald Trump. So the idea, though, and this is where I'm drawing a parallel, the idea that this is some kind of false flag, that Donald Trump staged this against himself, I'm having a hard time with that one. I'm really having a hard time with that one. Because I mean, how good of a sharpshooter would you have to be to shoot his ear and not shoot him? Right? You know, they're planning the false flag, and they're like, all right, shoot him and make sure to get the top of his right ear and not him. That's not happening. Right? There is no way this was a false flag. Unless you can somehow establish for me that Donald Trump's ear wasn't actually hit, you have got absolutely no case that this is a false flag. Just don't even think about it. Don't even think about this being a false flag. Because, I mean, if there were really shots and Donald Trump was really shot at the top of his ear, this was not a false flag. Now, if you want to say that Donald Trump cut himself with a razor, or I'm sure you can come up with some way this was fake. But if you accept that the bullet actually hit his ear, this was not a false flag. Okay, and I can guarantee you, as evil as you might think Donald Trump is, he's not stupid. And if he's sitting there planning a false flag, he's not saying, "Oh, and you can shoot my ear." Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Saying that this is a false flag, you want to talk about a conspiracy theory. I mean, and what bothers me is that this reminds me a lot of something that happened with Maduro. The fact that anyone can say this is a false flag, anybody can say that, is infuriating to me. It's utterly infuriating to me, right? Because the same thing happened when they tried to kill Maduro with a drone. Do you remember this? They tried to kill Nicolas Maduro with a drone. And there was a rally on Venezuelan TV, and the military was there, and Maduro was there, and a drone flew in, and the Venezuelan military shot down the drone. And immediately, all the mainstream people said, oh, Maduro staged that against himself to create sympathy. Well, no, they didn't. He didn't stage it against himself. He didn't, hire his own drone to try and assassinate him. And then also the military was ordered to scatter in the face of the drone, to take cover. And so they scattered. And then all over social media, they had the image of the soldiers running. Oh, look, none of them want to protect Maduro. They all ran away. It's like, no, they were ordered to do that. There was a huge amount of lying. And immediately a drone that apparently was directed from Miami by anti-Maduro activists flew into a Maduro rally to attack Maduro. His staff shot it down. And then they got on and they said, wow, they attempted to, assassinate Maduro with a drone. And U.S. mainstream media immediately all these outlets said, no, Maduro did that to himself. He's a lying communist. Don't believe anything. And this is the exact same situation. The exact same situation here. Whereas this was clearly an assassination attempt. And all the communist governments in the world know that it's an assassination attempt, including the governments that Donald Trump wasn't very nice to when he was president. I even see people in Iran saying that this was an assassination attempt, expressing support for Donald Trump in light of this. I'm serious. There are Iranian accounts that I follow. They're seeing this as an assassination attempt. And Donald Trump was not good to Iran, killed Qasem Soleimani, murdered Qasem Soleimani, ripped up the Iran nuclear deal. But the whole anti-imperialist world is seeing this as coming from a bad place. And mainstream U.S. media is not making a big deal out of this. And CNN has given this the most childish coverage I have ever seen. They said Donald Trump fell. That was one of the headlines they used. They said Donald Trump injured. And it's like, since when do you have a former president who's running for president, a presidential candidate, gets shot at a rally and they say he was injured? No, he didn't fall and skin his knee, folks. He was shot at. This was an assassination attempt. And AOC tweeted that this was an incident. And there was another CNN headline that said he fell. So the mainstream media is, and you saw Biden wouldn't even call it an assassination attempt. You saw that. Biden, when he gave his press conference, he wouldn't call it an assassination attempt. And they just condemned political violence. Political violence. How about assassination? How about terrorism? Something's off here. All of the anti-imperialist countries see this for what it is. Even the countries that Donald Trump was bad to as president. Mainstream media is downplaying it like crazy. And all over social media, people who never question anything, people who blindly believe everything are saying, oh, this was a false flag. Trump did it to himself to get sympathy. Trump's way ahead in the polls. He doesn't need to stage a false flag against himself to get sympathy. And his ear, yeah. Let's stage a false flag. Just shoot me in the ear. You know, I'll be fine. Just shoot me in the ear. Not buying it. This was not a false flag. Was it a conspiracy? I can't say that. I mean, we're going to hear a lot about the individual who did it in the next few days, I am sure. And we will learn all about that. Right? And what I will say is, why did Donald Trump, a former U.S. president and the front runner in the presidential race, why did he have a rally in a place where a sniper can set up? I mean, it appears that Donald Trump had his rally like in a field, and there were buildings near there, and somebody climbed up one of the buildings and set up with a sniper rifle. And this is actually a clip from BBC, right? Again, if this turns out to be a fake clip or something, I do apologize, right? I am not trying to spread fake news here. But I've seen this a number of places, and I mean, it looks legit to me. If you know that this is a fake clip or something, please let me know, and I will not show it. But everyone's saying it's not fake.
They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? I mean, this is not a big place.
Did you see, I mean, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh, yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, we just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
It's incredibly shocking.
The guy was on the roof right there. You can see the white roof right there.
Did you get a look at him? Could you?
No, other than he was in muted colors, tan type clothing. We saw the rifle flinging around as he was trying to crawl. I mean, we saw the rifle, 100%.
Do you know about guns? Do you know what kind of weapon it was?
Oh, I absolutely know about guns, for sure. No, I mean, it was a rifle of some sort. I wouldn't know.
I'm sorry. That having grown up in Ohio, which is very near Pennsylvania, and seeing the way that guy is dressed, like them's fighting words. He's on TV and he says, do you know about guns? That guy is, yeah, you bet I know about guns. I'm sorry. I just couldn't. You have to laugh in moments like this. This is a very serious situation. But this British reporter doesn't kind of know American culture. He's asking a guy dressed like that, a husky guy and his Trump hat there. Do you know about guns? Oh, yeah, I know about. I mean, if this guy said no, he would never live it down for the rest of his life.
I mean, we saw the rifle, 100%.
Do you know about guns? Do you know what kind of weapon it was?
Oh, I absolutely know about guns, for sure.
He knows about guns.
Sure. No, I mean, it was a rifle of some sort. I wouldn't know, I wasn't close enough to read the label on it.
But sure. But a high velocity.
It was a rifle of some sort. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you process what you've just seen?
I don't know what to say, man. I'll tell you is, if I if I walked up close to there with anything that Secret Service considered a problem, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you right now. But I don't know why a guy who we're standing there pointing out to police and Secret Service is crawling up the roof. Yes, right there by that tree. We were outside the security perimeter. But my question is, there's only a few buildings around here. Why is Secret Service not on every building here?
Well, there's a whole bunch of questions, I think, that are going to come.
There's a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got questions. I mean, that's all I can say. I don't know who the perpetrator was. I don't know what his motive was. I also don't know who was this audience member who got killed and who killed them. Was it the Secret Service that accidentally shot the audience member? Was it the perpetrator that shot the audience? Like, who? There was a spectator, somebody in the audience who got shot. I mean, I've got questions, but I've noticed it's like, if you question 9/11, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. If you question, the U.S. invasion of Iraq or the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, if you say that, what happened to Libya wasn't good, oh, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. But as soon as this happened, the memo was sent out, immediately question this and call this a false flag because we don't want to create sympathy for Donald Trump. What in the hell is wrong here, right? Just like when they tried to kill Maduro with a drone, immediately mainstream media said, oh, let's say it was a false flag. And it's like, it's weird because false flags don't happen according to mainstream US media. False flag is a right-wing conspiracy talking point unless the victim is Donald Trump, unless the victim is Maduro. This is very, very weird. And then the fact that Maduro comes out, Nicolas Maduro, the leader of a communist country that Donald Trump tried to overthrow, comes out and offers sympathy right away. This is huge. This is huge. And the fact that all over the liberal mainstream circles, they're calling this he staged it against himself. It's fake. And then mainstream US media is downplaying this. People were texting me, they were watching CBS and they didn't even stop regular programming for it. CNN ran the headline, Donald Trump fell. He fell. Is that what happened? Or Donald Trump injured? He was injured. Is that what happened? Donald Trump's out of the hospital. The president of the United States won't call it an assassination attempt. That sounds like the president of the United States dog whistling to these people on Twitter that, oh yeah, this was staged. It was a false flag. Don't feel sorry for Trump. This is big. Now, I do want to point something out that needs to be pointed out. Okay. So now there is an image of the shooter that is circulating. I mean, the shooter is this person is deceased. The Secret Service killed him. But before that person's image was out there was an image of someone else going around who was not the shooter. And it was everywhere. This name, this person. I don't know who that person was, but I'm thankful I didn't retweet that. And that person has every right to be pissed. I mean, there was a person who had nothing to, there was a picture of a man going around and they said it was this guy, and it clearly was not. And that's pretty bad, isn't it? There was a perpetrator named after this attack, and it was thousands of retweets. This person's name was everywhere, and it wasn't them. Is that fucked up? Yes. And, I don't know who this person is or what they might have done or said, but that's a crime against that person. And that's how evil social media is. And you know what? For the rest of that person's life, that's going to come up, even though they're not the one that did it. And who in their right mind starts that? And how does it go everywhere? The false identity of a shooter. That's terrifying. And that should tell you how evil social media really is, right? I mean, we now have the person who's been ID'd as the actual shooter. And then we have some guy who just got his face all over social media saying he's the shooter, and now they're saying he wasn't. That's a little bit disturbing now, isn't it? That's terrifying. It was everywhere in minutes, right? And that goes social media, you know? So there's that, right? Look, I saw what Angela McCurdle of the Libertarian Party, a good friend of mine, tweeted about how there's all kinds of libertarians saying very irresponsible things in the aftermath of this event. And I saw what she said, and I wrote below it, social media is bad for all dissident movements because it makes it into a competitive fandom rather than a group of people who work together. And she liked it. She agreed 100% because she deals with the same crap among libertarians that we deal with among communists. And I guess anti-woke communists, MAGA communists, or whatever we are, right? Whatever you want to call us. I don't like MAGA communism as a brand, but, we're in this category of non-woke, anti-imperialist people that identify with Marxism and socialism. So, call us what you want. But social media toxifies all dissident movements. And I've been talking about this a lot, and Peter Coffin has made films about this. He made Marx for Sale, great film. It's on YouTube. Go watch it. Great thing. There's other, Peter Coffin is doing other work about it. I mean, he's kind of pioneered this critique of social media, but this shows you how evil social media is. And I'm at the point where the only reason I'm on here is I want to talk to all of you. I'm done with social media. I see it as merely a communication mechanism. It is completely rigged. It is completely rigged. It is 100% rigged. And, it's an addiction. I'll be real. And I didn't even use Twitter until I got my job at RT. I made like maybe 10 tweets before that or something. I never got into it. But then social media is an addiction. And part of the danger of social media is that social media offers you the promise of winning the lottery. Right? The idea is that if you're good enough at social media, you can be rich. And no, you can't. It's rigged. But in people's minds, I'll just make that one good video. I'll make that one good tweet and I'll go viral on it. No, that's not how it works. That is not how it works. And what they do on social media at this point is very clever. And I've said this, and again, if you don't believe this, you don't want to hear it, I don't care. I'm at the point where I don't care. I know that I have been continually attacked and harassed. And, the reason for that is because, I say what's true. And so I will tell you what's true as I understand it. And what it's very clear is that for every dissident space, they find a few people. And I think sometimes these people are sincere. Sometimes they're not, but sometimes they are. They find people that are not dangerous, that are not dangerous to the deep state, that is, that are not going to build a mass movement, that they can manipulate and control, that are not very deep usually, and they blow them up to be the voice of those kinds of politics. And then they systemically go and smear and cancel all the other people that in that sphere who could potentially lead the politics to someplace good. And this is what happens. And it happens in the libertarian world. It happens in the MAGA world. It happens in the anarchist world. It happens in the leftist world. And, it happens in the far right circles. And the far right, which I'm not saying this is bad because, I don't want there to be a bunch of neo-Nazis out there. Nick Fuentes is not a sincere person. He doesn't believe what he's saying, right? He's a shock jock, right? He's a stand-up comedian, right? He's an insult comic, and he's a slimy, incel teenager on there doing insult comedy. He's not an ideological white nationalist and white supremacist, but he's there for young men who get into that kind of ideology to go to him rather than join some kind of actual movement for white supremacism, which is a good thing. I don't want there to be a white supremacist movement. But I think you all know that that's going on in our circles, that goes on in the libertarian circles, that goes on in the anarchist circles, that goes on in the MAGA circles. Certain people get blown up, and those are people that are not connected to anything real. Those are people that are not very smart, usually, and are just trying to build a fandom around themselves and are less and less political over time and don't really understand the ideas that they're basically leading the audiences away from the ideology that they're supposedly promoting. Right? We know that this happens, and that's why social media is rigged, and that's why I'm done with social media. And I feel like the problem with social media is that it has actually prevented my organization, the Center for Political Innovation, from doing the work that we set out to actually do, which is get to the masses. Right? And we've been relying on social media. Oh, people just drift into the YouTube channel. Well, I like you all. Glad you're here. But no, I mean, we need to actually get to the masses, people who could never go looking for these ideas. And we've been relying on, oh, we just have this big YouTube channel. People just drift into the social media. We got to stop that. Right? And so this turn toward actual in real life outreach, this turn toward not focusing on social media, and the fact that we are, I mean, I'm at this point, I mean, that's really important. And I mean, the fact that I don't know who this guy was. I don't even want to say his name because apparently he had nothing to do with this, but it was all over social media in minutes that this guy did it. And he wasn't the shooter. Can you imagine this? Twitter, like a Twitter executive should get arrested for that. Can you imagine? What if that was a member of your family, right? What if that was your brother or your sister? Right? That Donald Trump gets shot, luckily it just hits his ear. And then they put your brother's face all over the internet. Or they put your sister's face all over the internet and said they did it when they didn't do it. How would you feel about that? That's what internet cancel culture is. Okay? And you know that there's going to be a bunch of people who don't do the research, and that in Google searches for the rest of that person's life, it's going to come up that this person did it when they had nothing to do with it. And, to make that go away, this guy, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to support what's been done to him. That guy is going to probably have to spend thousands of dollars of his own money in lawsuits and all kinds of things just to make it go away. The claim that he shot somebody that he did not shoot. He had nothing to do with it. I mean, I want a Twitter executive to go to jail just for that. All right. Put aside what I've personally been through, what people I care about, like Peter Coffin have been through, put all of that aside. That alone, that somebody got their name announced to the world before thousands and thousands of people that they were an attempted presidential assassin when they weren't. Like, that's infuriating to me. And that shows you how evil and manipulative social media can be. So I wanted to get that out. I'm reaching the end of my rope. I can't be on here. I do have church in the morning and I am tired and all of that. But I want to say something else, which is, I don't think Donald Trump knows this. Okay. Please do not misinterpret what I'm about to say. I'm not saying Donald Trump knew this and did this on purpose. Okay. We all know that in our culture, that's become the thing. Right? Black power, right? And everybody uses it. Rock stars do it before their concerts. It's I think the CIA, when they tried to overthrow Slobodan Milosevic, they formed Otpor, which was like the resistance, and their symbol was just a big fist, right? It has all kinds of different meanings now. Where does it come from, though? What is the origin of that, right? I know the Jewish Defense League, the JDL, they did this. It's I think Lionel, the legal media analyst who has been in media, he does a joke. He does right arm, as a joke. It has all kinds of different meaning. The fist salute, the power salute, right? So Donald Trump did that, and his supporters did it back to him. And I don't think Donald Trump knows the origin of the power salute. And so he's not dog whistling this. I'm sure he was not dog whistling this. So please don't misinterpret what I'm about to say, right? You know, you can accuse me of giving Donald Trump too much credit, but I am not giving Donald Trump credit for this. It's just a media thing. We all know that, right? Everybody uses it. But where does this actually come from? Now Caleb's going to tell you something you didn't know, which is actually quite interesting. This comes from the Paris Commune of 1871, the first communist uprising that ever happened. Nope, doesn't come from the Spanish Civil War, goes a lot further back than that. 1871, there was a communist uprising in Paris. The government of France was at war with the government of Prussia, and the government of France lost and surrendered, and the people in Paris did not want to surrender. The working class of Paris, the labor unions, etc., they did not want to surrender. So they formed their own government called the Paris Commune, and they erected barricades, and for 8 weeks, they defended the city of Paris, and it was called the Paris Commune of 1871. And Karl Marx at first opposed doing it. He said it was a mistake. They shouldn't have done it. But then after they did it, he was blown away. And he said that they had stormed heaven. And he wrote this book about it, The Civil War in France. And Karl Marx said that the Paris Commune of 1871, this 8-week regime in Paris, this was what he called the first dictatorship of the proletariat, the first working class government. And after the Paris Commune was defeated, all the communards, the people that had built the Paris Commune, the first working class government, the first communist government in history, were all lined up and executed. One by one, they were shot, and thousands of them, like 20,000, 30,000 people were just executed in mass as they retook control of Paris. And some of the people that were being executed had the idea that before they got shot, they would do this. And why? Because when they faced the firing squad, they would do this. They would have their hand, their fist next to their ear, kind of like this. And then they would shoot them, and then they would dump their body in the grave. And then something happens when you die. Your body, your muscles release. And so what happened was, after these people's bodies were dumped into the grave, their muscles would release, rigorous mortem, and their fists would come up out of the ground. And the fist salute was an allegory for revolutionary immortality. And the symbol of the Paris Commune was all these dead people's fists coming up out of the ground like this. Right? And it was like, we may have died, but our revolutionary spirit lives on. And that is why communists started using the fist salute. Social democrats and then communists started using the fist salute. It stands for immortality. It stands for you may kill us today, but we will come back. We will return. That's what it comes from, right? And sometimes you see it like this, right? People do both. They do this and they do this, right? They're both kind of the same thing because the idea is after you're dead, right? And that's where it comes from. And all the communist uprisings, the communist militias and all that, they would salute like this. I believe when the Soviet Union started, for the first couple of years, that was the official salute of the Soviet Union. They eventually changed it to something else, but and they still use the fist salute in some communist countries, right? I know in China they do a salute like this, where you put a hand next to your ear, but and I know later the communist groups of the world, they would do a salute like this, where your thumb was below your ear. And that stood for the 1/5 of the planet that was already communist, the Soviet Union. And then 4 fingers were above your ear. And that stood for the 4/5 of the world that were going to someday be communist. Yeah. And I know the young pioneers, they would salute with the thumb below the ear for the Soviet Union, and the 4 fingers above the ear for the coming revolution that would be. So, obviously, and I think it really comes from Black Power, right? And so I think, during the civil rights movement, you had Martin Luther King Jr., who pushed nonviolence. And then you had Stokely Carmichael, who later changed his name to Kwame Ture. And Stokely Carmichael, he said Black Power. And when he would say Black Power, he would do his fist like this. He'd say Black Power, Black Power. And then later the Black Panthers started doing that. Black Power, Black Power. And then I think the Jewish Defense League, JDL, they were the Jewish Defense League. And now everybody uses it for everything. And it's just a thing. It's just a thing. Right. And but yeah, Donald Trump did this salute 3 times. So Donald Trump was actually using a communist symbol. He doesn't know that, though. I mean, I'm not telling you, yes, Donald Trump is secretly. That's not what I'm saying at all. Donald Trump has no idea where this came from. He saw it on TV, right? But I'm just telling you the history there because it's important, right? And this is a part of communism that has become part of everyday culture. It's become part of, the wider culture. This is a communist thing. So I thought I would share that with all of you. I see there's a few super chats that have come in. I do appreciate that. I wanted to mention a couple other things on here, which is that on Monday, I am headed to the printers because I have to pick up 1,000 of these babies, right? We've got an order of 1,000 copies of Do You Believe in Growth that are going to be distributed throughout the summer at political events, especially at the Democrat National Convention, at the Republican Convention, and elsewhere. And I've got to go pick them up from the printer. And so that's what I'm doing on Monday. So, this is going to be particularly important in light of what happened today, right? And I saw this coming, and, Rainer Shea, I shout out to Rainer if you're watching. Rainer had very good analysis of what's going to happen at this point, which is that it looks like today's events, regardless of where they came from, they are going to play into the coming anti-woke psyop. Right? And thank you, Dan. Thank you. And the coming anti-woke psyop, there is an anti-woke psyop coming. Americans hate wokeism. Americans hate wokeism. People are tired. The fear of being canceled, outrage at cancel culture is almost mainstream at this point. Carrie Lake does ads about these people are evil bastards. They lie about you because you're right over the target. I mean, everybody hates cancel culture. Kids are getting canceled in school, and Donald Trump is more popular than ever because they're trying to cancel him, and they see the cancel culture establishment as trying to silence him. The transgender thing is not playing out the way they hoped. A lot of people have detransitioned. A lot of parents are very afraid of their kids, a choice that their child might make, before they're old enough to be sure it was the right decision. Everyone's getting poorer under the Biden administration, and, the inflation is insane. And there's an anti-woke blowback coming. And that's why all the voices that have been selected, and this is important. I told you that all the dissident circles they pick a few people and they prop them up to be the voice of conservatism, or the voice of communism, or the voice of whatever, right? Every dissident community, every dissident movement has certain, people that are propped up, right, to be the voices of it. Those people in the conservative circle are all on blast saying that wokeism is communism, which it is not, right? Jordan Peterson lies about this all the time. You go to any communist country, you think they're doing the transgender thing there? Do you think that they're, and you go talk to the woke people. Do you think they like North Korea? Do they like China? Do they like Cuba? I mean, it's woke is over here, communism's over here, right? Other than a vague overlap in some of their critiques of U.S. society, there's nothing in common between them. Communism is about 5-year economic plans and building, and wokeism is about destruction. Woke people believe in degrowth and depopulation. They think humans are a cancer on Mother Earth. Communists turned Russia and China into superpowers and want a centrally planned economy so we can get so much wealth and abundance that the need for the government fades away. I mean, wokeism and communism couldn't be further apart. I mean, there may be some overlap. Communists built the anti-racist movement. Woke people invoke the legacy of the anti-racist movement. Communists historically have fought for women's rights. Woke people claim to speak in the name of feminism. I mean, there may be some overlap, and communism has corrected itself in a lot of ways. The communist countries realized that their attitude toward religion was not helpful, and that repressing religious people was a problem. And in fact, many of the major communist leaders in the world today, like the leader of the Communist Party, the Russian Federation, who Putin just gave one of the highest medals, the Medal of Labor, the Honor of Labor. Zhuganov, he's a Christian. Maduro in Venezuela, he's a Christian. Daniel Ortega, the leader of Nicaragua, he's a Christian. In fact, Nicaragua has the strictest anti-abortion laws of any country in the world. And their slogan that's painted everywhere is Christianity, socialism, and solidarity. The idea that all the woke stuff that Americans don't like is communism is completely absurd. It's just false. Woke people believe in degrowth. Communists believe in growth, right? Communists have been fighting to raise the wages of average Americans. Woke people think average Americans are racist white settlers who need to be poor. There's nothing, neither the twain shall meet. But it's clear that forces that don't like Donald Trump did what they did today, whether it was one individual or bigger forces, we don't know. But many of Trump's supporters believe it was bigger forces. And I mean, their suspicions are very justified, in my opinion. So right now, the main thing that's going on in Trumpian and conservative circles, they're trying to say, oh, if you hate wokeism, if you hate the anti-Trump hysteria, that's all because of China, and that's all because of the Palestinians. So you should support Israel, and you should support bombing Iran, and you should support hostility to China. Now, Trump circles, there seems to be a pretty widespread understanding that Russia is not our enemy, or opposing Russia is none of our business, etc. But they are trying to use and hijack the anti-woke sentiments of the American people, which are very justified, and turn them into war against China, war against Iran, and worship of the free market and neoliberalism and privatizations and cutbacks. And that's why this booklet is so important, because this booklet is all about why we need growth and why capitalism cannot create sustainable growth, and why wokeism is part of the effort to save the capitalist system from itself, right? I mean, this booklet, you can read the text of it on our website, cpiusa.org. You can read the text. I'll link the text so that you can read it, because it's a very important booklet that I wrote. Do you believe in growth? We printed 1,000 copies for the Libertarian Party convention, and we distributed it, and it was a hit. And people at the Libertarian Party convention loved it. Everybody who was there got a copy of it. It was a hit. I was inside of Trump's speech, handing it out to people. People loved it. People absolutely loved it. So there was that. And so now I'm about to go print out. They've already printed 1,000 more copies of this that are headed to the Midwest. We're heading out to Chicago. And I guess I've been arranging with somebody in the chat, and we've got, Fox is distributing copies here in Australia. I'm arranging with people in the chat to drive the 1,000 copies I'm about to pick out on Monday out to Chicago, to make sure that in the coming months they are distributed in Chicago. And the message of this pamphlet, that growth is not bad, and that growth is what people want. They want a better life for their kids, etc. We're getting this out there. So if you want to help me out with the costs, I would appreciate it. You can cash at me, Caleb Maupin 22, right? It's appreciated. You know, if you want to help get this out there, offset the cost of me, you know, getting a car out to the printer and loading up these things, of me, you know, making arrangements to get them from New York City to Chicago and, you know, take a road trip out to Chicago to see the Chicago comrades. If you want to help offset the costs of this pamphlet, you can send a donation to Caleb Maupin 22 if you think this is an important message that you'd like to get out there. A number of people have already donated, and small donations are appreciated. $5, $10, bigger is better, obviously, but that's one way you can help this out. And I think in light of today's events, as they're, you know, I am at the point where I think Donald Trump winning this election is probably the best outcome that's foreseeable. Now, you know, people say, well, what about RFK? RFK is not going to win. And he's awful on Israel Palestine, but so is Trump, and so is Biden. They say, well, Donald Trump is a fascist, Project 2025. No. Well, first of all, Trump has already denounced Project 2025. That said, part of Project 2025 is dissolving the Department of Homeland Security. I'm for that. Part of Project 2025 is depoliticizing the FBI. You know, the FBI that, you know, raided the homes of the Uhuru movement, the FBI that rigged, that suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story to rig the elections to make sure that Biden won in 2020. The FBI that's destroyed the lives of thousands of people who just walked into the Capitol. I mean, you know, I'm not opposed to that. You know, I looked through Project 2025. It just sounds like a lot of conservative stuff, some of which I'm not totally opposed to, some of which I don't agree with, and some of which, like abolishing the Department of Homeland Security and cutting the funding of the FBI, that I'm for. So, you know, I think Donald Trump, because he says he wants a peace deal with Russia, he says he will create economic growth and that the government's job is to create economic growth. Because of that, I think that that Donald Trump winning the upcoming election, if you asked me personally, I'm not going to endorse Donald Trump because I don't agree with him about Iran. I don't agree with him about Israel. I don't agree with a lot of things he did as president, so I don't give any endorsements. And Center for Political Innovation doesn't endorse any candidates. We're not a party. We don't campaign for anybody, etc. But if you ask me my personal opinion, Trump winning is the best we can get. It'd be better, way better than Biden, and yeah, I'll take it. But Donald Trump winning is going to open a huge new can of worms because we're going to have to get this out there like crazy because Donald Trump and his supporters are being actively told that all the things that we hate about Biden, like degrowth, like inflation, like the police state, all of that we're being told is communism. And we're going to have to push back against that message. And so, our work is actually going to become more important because the anti-woke explosion is coming. People are tired of woke. People are tired of imperialism, the rule of the world by big banks and corporations. People are tired of seeing living standards go down. And, the explosion against it is coming, and the ruling elite are going to try to hijack that explosion. They hijacked the anger of Black people at our prison system and police brutality. They hijacked that to serve an evil purpose of helping set up this woke situation, enhancing government repression, feeding the idea that Russia was our enemy, right? The anger that the Black community had about racism was totally justified. The anger that the Black community had about police brutality was totally justified. But we know the ruling class used it to push their woke insanity and to push anti-Russia, pro-war sentiment, right? The idea that Putin is a communist or Putin is a fascist and Trump and all of that. Well, they're going to do the same thing. And they're already doing the same thing with the anti-woke blowback. They're trying to turn it into anti-China sentiment, pro-Israel sentiment, hatred for Muslims, etc. And our job as a group of people that are we're anti-woke. We don't believe in cancel culture. We believe in economic growth. We don't believe in degrowth. But we're not pro-war, and we're not pro-imperialist, and we're certainly not in favor of, the free market system that leaves people behind. Right? Our work is going to be very, very important. So in that light, if you want to support this pamphlet, you want to help me get this pamphlet, get it printed, get it out to Chicago, it would be appreciated. Cash App. On Cash App, if you can do that, that would make my life a little bit easier and make it a little bit easier for me to do what's already been done and get things in the works. So there's that. So I'm just throwing that out there. So at this point, why don't we do the roll call? And then after that, I will answer people's questions, and then I'm going to bed because I got to get up in the morning, and it's been a long day. I saw okay. So I'll tell you what happened. Now I'll get to the me part, right? Now I've gotten all my political points and all that out of the way. My wife and I went to the movies. We went to the movies, right? There's a movie. Well, we went to the movies. Let me just leave it at that. We went to the movies, and we saw the first 10 minutes of the movie Fly Me to the Moon. And then my phone rang informing me that someone had just shot at Donald Trump. And so I had to leave my wife in the movie theater. She was very sad, but she said it was a pretty good movie. I didn't get to see the rest of Fly Me to the Moon. I'll survive, But yeah, and ever since then, I've been in this room on doing my job as a reporter for RT. And now I'm streaming for you. And then after this, I will be going to sleep, and then I'll be waking up in the morning, and the struggle continues. And I'm very proud of how relentless I am. I'm very proud of how much I just keep going and I never surrender. And look, hey, I try to put my best foot forward and be here for all of you. Names and locations. We got Nina in Kansas City. Welcome, Nina. Names and locations. Names and locations. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Riverside County. Stephen Morris. Welcome, Stephen. Mark Jones in Utica, New York. Grapevine is in a little place called Hope. St. Joseph, Missouri. Fingerman. Alex in Brazil. Rice from Adelaide, Australia. Dan in Los Angeles. Might go to the Trump rally in Orange County tomorrow. Will take my growth booklet. Very good. London, England. Jenny in Cincinnati. Detroit. Denver, Colorado. Keep that ambition. Thank you. Los Angeles, Nico. First Amendment, Detroit. Shanty in Mexico. Prescott in Arizona. Riverside, California. John in Habon, Beijing, China. Dustin Schlesinger. Cleveland, Ohio. Morgan in Philadelphia. Ed in Louisville. April and Chris in Salt Lake City. Sydney, Australia. Des Moines, Iowa. New Zealand. Balthazar in Oakland. Rachel in Winder, Georgia. Doug in Santa Barbara. Mariah in North Carolina. Saul in Chicago. David Fox in Bendigo, Australia. Zach in Richmond, Virginia. Anthony in Detroit. What a wild day it is. Portland, Oregon, Jason Campbell. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Borat in Kazakhstan. I have a feeling that's not where you are. Shannon in Fort Lauderdale. Jason Campbell in Portland, Oregon. Neil Fraser in Hong Kong. Very, very good. Very, very good. Names and locations, folks. Names and locations. All right. Art Scholar in Ventura, Santa Barbara. Go to sleep, Kayla. I got super chats to answer here. Huxley in England. Thanks for the stream. You're welcome, Mr. Huxley. Tampa, Florida. Herb Bryant. Welcome, Herb. Very, very good. Oh, Philip, hi. Very good. Shout out to you, Philip. Glad you're watching. Dan in South Korea. Welcome, Dan. Me in Estados Unidos, United States. Connor from Vancouver, Canada. All right. All right. So now I'm going to start answering these super chat questions. You got more super chats. I'll answer them, but I'm going to fall asleep. Javier Milei came out on X and immediately blamed the international left. Of course he did. Javier Milei is a libertarian, in quotes, who's been allowed to become the head of state of a country. And Javier Milei is pro free trade. He's pro getting his country, Argentina, on the US dollar. He's pro Israel. He's pro Ukraine and anti-Russian. I mean, for a libertarian, this guy's about as globalist as you can get. Tyler, good to see you. London, Ontario, Garden Herb. Yes, he's about as globalist as you can get. I mean, Javier Milei has not seen anything about globalism and Zionism and U.S. imperialism that he doesn't like, right? And to be fair, Javier Milei is far worse than most libertarians. I am not a libertarian, and I get red in the face arguing them with libertarians about economics because they just don't know what they're talking about, right? The idea that we just magically privatize everything and have economic growth, the idea, oh, socialism just never works, right? I mean, it's so completely wrong. Austrian economics is bunk, right? And I will happily debate anyone. And I sometimes it sucks being smart. Okay. Dave Smith, a libertarian guy, great defending Julian Assange, critical of Israel. He does a lot of great things, but I humiliated him unintentionally. I think I was pretty nice about it. But when I went on a stream with Pasta, with him and Spike Cohen, I completely humiliated Dave Smith, and he's never going to forgive me for that. I mean, but I'm very passionate, and I believe in economics, and he is a libertarian. And so, he assumes that this Austrian economic stuff is true when it's very easily debunked. And I humiliated him, and now he's going to hold a grudge against me for the rest of my life, even though, I agree with a lot of what Dave Smith does. So I'm sad that happened. Right. And there are times where, look, if I were stupider, my life would be a lot easier. Right. People say, oh, I want to be smart. No, you don't. No, you really don't. Right. Nobody likes the smart guy. Really, they don't. Right. Think about other people whose social media channels are much bigger than mine. Right. And think about the fact that if I was stupid, I might be, trusted enough by the deep state to be in the position they're in. Right. You don't want to be smart. You don't want to be smart. But if you're smart, you can still do good things in the world. But this idea that, especially in this age when social media rewards you for being an idiot, he rage quit, and I wasn't being very nasty to him. I wasn't being very nasty to Dave. I was being very polite. You can watch the debate for yourself, make up your own mind, but I was being very polite, but he doesn't know anything about economics. And I just, with my basic understanding, and he got very upset and he ran away. And it's too bad, because I don't hate Dave. I think Dave's probably a good guy with good intentions. So there you go. Yeah. So I'm just telling you all that, but anyway, Javier Milei, right? I mean, he's an awful person. I shouldn't say that. I'm sure he's a nice person with his wife and kids, but politically he's awful. And I don't think we should paint all libertarians with the broad brush with which we paint him. Many libertarians are much better than Javier Milei. Javier Milei is horrible. And in a lot of ways, he's a neoconservative, not a libertarian. All right. Do you think it's an accident that this happened a mere days after Orban met with Zelensky, Putin, Xi, and Trump at the peace deal? I mean, I can see what you're getting at there, John. But I think that, even this that you just mentioned, right? There's a pattern here. Donald Trump went to North Korea and met with Kim Jong-un. John Bolton tried to sabotage that meeting. John Bolton said that if Donald Trump ever gets elected again, NATO will dissolve, which would be good, right? They're scaremongering everyone out of voting for Trump because Trump supposedly is going to defund the FBI and abolish the Department of Homeland Security with Project 2025. It's very clear that the establishment in America that everyone hates is urging everyone not to vote for Donald Trump because he is a threat to that establishment. And that seems to be the situation. And I am of the opinion that defending that establishment is not a good thing to do. And that you can't compare, and this is the biggest fallacy I see. And Jyoti Brar, my good friend in Britain, wrote a very good article about this. The idea that aligning with the liberal order right now against Trump or against the new right is the equivalent of a popular front against fascism is just so wrong in so many ways. Because fascism right now is coming from the liberals. It's coming from the liberal order. They're the ones pushing degrowth. They're the ones pushing World War III, etc. So Trump is seen as a threat to the liberal order. Now, things are developing in certain ways. Maybe there's certain factions that are getting more desperate. I don't know. But there you go. All right. Get some rest, brother. I will do my best to get some rest. Thank you. And it's been a long day, and I'm getting up early in the morning to head to Manhattan for church, but hey, glad to do it. All right. Convenient distraction ahead of Netanyahu's visit. Trump loves Netanyahu. I mean, Netanyahu gave condolences to Trump. I mean, I've heard people say that Trump holds a grudge against Netanyahu, and I hope that's true. But aside from some statements that he made just after leaving office, I've never seen anything to back that up. So, yeah. All right. Please give book recommendations on the rise and fall of Yugoslavia. All right. There's a few books on that. The best one that I've ever read is called To Kill a Nation by Michael Parenti, which I've got on my shelf somewhere. That's the best one that I've ever read. Michael Parenti's To Kill a Nation. By Michael Parenti. That's the best one I've ever read, but there's a number of them. Right? That's so bizarre. Okay, YouTube rejected my comment. I have never had that happen before. I wrote To Kill a Nation by Michael Parenti, and YouTube rejected my comment. How does that happen? This is my stream. I should be able to put whatever I gosh darn want to. But apparently YouTube believes my comment, To Kill a Nation by Michael Parenti, is spam. I don't know how that works. But yeah, To Kill a Nation by Michael Parenti. That's very good. I would also recommend, there's a couple others. There's a book called Liar's Poker that was written by, I believe, published by the Socialist Party of Belgium. There's another book called War, Lies, and Videotape. That's a compilation of different, exposés on Yugoslavia that was put out. I used to work for Ramsey Clark and the International Ashik Center, and we published a number of books. We published Milosevic's speech to the court, before he died, but his speech to the Hague, where he said, "Oh, thank you," thank you very much, where he said, that he basically laid out in his opening speech that he was not guilty of genocide. And so, yeah, there you go. War, Lies, and Videotape, Liar's Poker, To Kill a Nation by Michael Parenti. So there you go. There you go. Okay. Both woke and anti-woke is imperialist Zionism. Yeah. What's weird is that they kind of flipped on that issue. I would say not the majority, but the majority of Trump supporters support Israel, but there's a very large but underrepresented on social media anti-Israel minority. And that, they are hidden in the Trump universe of social media, but they very much exist. And I would say that also the majority of people that you would call woke support Israel. But the Palestine protests are significantly large, and the people attending them are largely woke. And so that was the curveball, right, in this kind of woke, anti-woke analysis that we've had for a while at the Center for Political Innovation. The Palestine rallies were the first time that we saw, the woke people at odds with U.S. imperialism. And it wasn't the majority of them. The majority of so-called woke people, Van Jones, people like that, support Israel. But a very, very vocal and loud minority of woke people took to the streets to support the Palestinians. And what they were saying was right. They're not very nice people. When I go to their rallies and to give coverage of their events and get their message out, they threaten to beat me up because you're a right supremacist, Russia's fascist, blah, 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 blah. They're not nice people. But the messages of their rallies, I agree with. And that, but I would say that, again, Israel is the American establishment position. And it's complicated. Let me just put it that way. It was certainly a twist to see the left suddenly at odds with the establishment, or people identifying the left as at odds with the establishment. That was a twist, and that's a result of the Palestine protests, I think. There you go. All right. I'd like to see you and Candace Owens talk. I would love to talk to Candace Owens. I feel like I would have to be patient in how I spoke with her. And that, when I hear her talk, certain things that she says are very, very wrapped in ignorance. But again, I would, if I was given the opportunity to speak to Candace Owens and have a public conversation with her, I would do it in a heartbeat. So don't get me wrong. But I do agree with the people in the chat that say that's never going to happen, because it's never going to happen, because I'm telling you that social media is rigged. And the way it's rigged is that they find certain people to be the representative of certain views because they are not dangerous. Certain people are allowed to go viral, and certain people aren't allowed to go viral unless it's them getting canceled. And that's the way this works. And Candace Owens has been selected to be somebody in the conservative circles who can be the anti-Israel voice that's allowed to go viral. There's plenty of anti-Israel Trumpers and conservatives who will never go viral the way she does. And there are certain people in our circles that, anti-woke communists who've been selected to go viral because they don't know what they're talking about. The Trotskyists. America's already socialist, man, but it's like Trotskyist. I don't know who Trotsky was or anything like that, but that's what it is. Yep. And they've been selected because they're not dangerous. There's no danger in voices like that. Just like there's no danger, with all due respect to Candace Owens, there's no danger from anyone listening to Candace Owens and joining some kind of, anti-Israel movement among Trumpers. It's not going to happen. They'll listen to her, and then they'll listen to her some more, and then they'll listen to someone else and change the channel. And that's why she gets to do what she does. And the people that, very much try to regulate and control social media have decided that I am too dangerous because I'm building an actual group. And again, that may sound self-important, and that may, fine. Like, I don't care. If you think I'm self-important and all of that, you join the Center for Political Innovation, and you work with us for a few years, and you see the amazing work that we do and the amazing bond that we have among people and the amazing events that we put on, etc. And you also see the way we are smeared and lied about, etc., and the way we've been portrayed, and you will understand what I'm talking about. I'm just telling you that. And that is my challenge to you. If you think that, oh no, your group isn't important, that's one thing I hear. Your group's not important. Really? That's fine. The Ukrainian government thinks we're important. They put me on the kill list. They listed us on their website. They think we're pretty important. Trevor Loudon, he says that, Caleb Maupin in the Center for Political Innovation is a huge influence on Tulsi Gabbard, right? I mean, a lot of people who don't like us seem to think we're very important. And the people in our community and the amazing work that we've done, I think it's very important. But if you don't think we're important, number one, or if you don't think we've been unfairly smeared, come and join us, participate in our activities, come to a few of our events, and see for yourself. And you will see, one, why we are important, and you'll see, two, why what they have done to smear us and lie about us, it doesn't match reality. We've recruited people on the basis of just coming to our events before. There have been people that have come to a CPI event after seeing on the internet. They've been very nervous. They come and they're super nervous, and then they come and they see we're not white nationalists. We're not racist. We're not advocates of violence. We're just people who love our country and our community, and we understand socialism in like a optimistic, progressive way that's based on love and not based on hate and destruction. We've had people join us just by seeing how much what we're about is the opposite of what they've been told. You know, and so join us. And like I said, right now we're taking off the training wheels. We're doing a completely off social media recruiting strategy because social media is lazy, right? It's, you know, oh, okay, we'll just recruit 1 or 2 people who drift into the YouTube channel. No, we got to get to the masses. What we do doesn't make any sense if we don't get to the masses. These streams that I'm doing right now and the morning messages, which are very important, the streams, the morning messages, all of that is just a way to communicate with people. It's a communication tool, but it's nothing more than that, right? We need to build a real movement, and we need to get to people who would never in a million years go looking for what we're about. And we need to learn the art of doing that. And you learn through trial and error. And it's not easy. We had a great meeting today. You can listen to our morning message tomorrow. We had a great meeting today. It was great. And our meetings, since we've taken this new turn, our meetings have like exploded. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, we get, you know, I mean, we have our general membership call every Saturday. And our meetings are like 5 times the size of what they were just a couple weeks ago. And we're perfecting what we're about in order to get to the masses. And it's not easy. And it's, you know, but we're just going to keep doing it. So there you go. So yeah, but Candace Owens, I don't think if she wanted to have me on her show, I would go on in a heartbeat because it would reach a lot of people, but I can almost guarantee you that will never happen. And, you know, and I must say that let's just throw this out here, right? Let's just throw this out here, right? We don't want to be beggars. All right? Because that is what you end up being. You end up being a beggar. If you get into this social media world, right? You end up being somebody who is trailing around people that have been lifted up to be famous and trailing after them going, oh, please give me some clout. Please be good to me. No, we're not doing that. People want to have me on their show. I'll go. People want to interview me. Fine. People want to watch these streams. Fine. People want to promote these streams. Fine. But I'm not begging. I'm really done with that. I'm really, really done with that. I did not form the Center for Political Innovation to trail after people that are famous on social media and go, please give us attention. Please. No, we formed the Center for Political Innovation to get shit done, to build a real movement. That's why we formed it. And that's hard. And it's not easy. And it requires doing a lot of outreach. And it requires facing a lot of rejection. But it must be done. We've got to build a real movement. And that requires getting a lot of booklets like this out. It requires hanging a lot of door knockers on doors. It requires going to a lot of events and meeting people and inviting them and doing a lot of workshops for new people. And it's not easy, but the training wheels have got to come off. And that, you know, look, I'll let you all in on a little secret. All right. And again, you know, there's no way to really prove this. It's true, though. You don't want to be a beggar, right? Go build, go organize, right? You don't want to be in that position where you're just following around someone who's already got money and already got wealth and already got influence and going, oh, please, please. You know, no, don't do that. Don't humiliate yourself. That's not, you know, you're better than that, right? Lenin said, go lower and deeper to the real masses. Don't try to compete with social democracy. But that said, look, this is a little secret I will let you all in on. Okay? Right? And, oh, you know, I'm not necessarily saying no, but there's a little secret I'll let you all in on. Okay. I don't know what you want to call our spheres, right? I don't like MAGA communism because I think it's like the worst name you could ever give something. The idea of like being, you know, sympathetic to MAGA and trying to engage with MAGA people while having anti-imperialist and socialist and communist views, that I agree with. But the idea of MAGA communism, I don't like. But regardless, the group of people in the United States who are anti-woke, sympathetic to Russia and China, communists. In terms of people who actually show up at events, okay? I can't speak to people watching things on the internet or whatever. You're looking at less than 300 people, maybe a little bit more, but probably less than 300 people in the entire country. None of these groups have ever had an event that has more than about 200 people total at it. Okay? That is the truth. And in fact, CPI, we've had some of the biggest events. Our convention in Oregon, our convention, our event that we did after the Rage Against the War Machine rally, pretty big, right? The Rage Against the War Machine rally itself was a few thousand people, but most of that were Libertarian Party people, Jimmy Dore fans, Green Party, a very small percentage of the people there were what you might call anti-woke communists, right? And there's about 300 people in the whole country. And I'm not saying that to be demoralizing. I'm not, I'm not trying to say that there's no hope. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. But if our goal is to become the king of a sphere of 3,300 people, right? Well, CPI, we've got about 158 members, but the entire sphere, we're talking maybe a little more than 300, maybe a little less than 300. So, I mean, at that point, right, you have to ask yourself, why in the world would we aim to be king of a sphere of 300 people? That you want to talk about aiming low, my good. I mean, maybe we can become the world champion of tiddlywinks. Right? You ever play tiddlywinks? Right? It's an obscure game. I bet, I mean, I bet there's somebody out there who is the world champion of tiddlywinks. Is that still a game? Tiddlywinks, right? Tiddlywinks, right? So, maybe we can become Tiddlywinks champion, the international Tiddlywinks champion, right? Right? I mean, I don't know, maybe we can get to appear on a broadcast of extreme shuffleboarding, shuffleboarding, is our favorite sport. I mean, it's like, you're talking about an obscure niche, and I'm not trying to bash it, because I think people in that sphere are largely right about a lot more than most people. But first of all, I'm telling you that there's a lot of big social media numbers out there, and those numbers are not real. Okay. I'm just telling you that. But nothing on the internet is real. Very few numbers on the internet are real. Okay. From all sides. Right. So first of all, the numbers are not real. And second of all, I mean, there may be a lot of people who watch but don't show up to anything. They're just being entertained. They find the whole thing entertaining and they watch. But in terms of people that want to become involved in some kind of MAGA communist movement, that go to MAGA communist meetups and events, you're talking about less than 300 people, probably. So with that said, right, there's no alternative but to go to the masses. There is no alternative but to go to the masses and educate people and win people over to our perspective. And I mean, if you don't realize that, I don't know what to say. And the idea that we should be begging MAGA communists for their permission and approval. No. I mean, that's just, one thing to beg Candace Owens, but to be begging people in this sphere, oh my God, you're the king of MAGA communism. Please be nice to us. No. And people have made clear they just don't want to be nice to us, no matter what we do. And they've made that clear. And you can speculate about why. I think I know why, and I think some other people know why, but other people may be in denial about those reasons, and I don't care. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. And that song is actually really racist if you go look at the lyrics. I had no idea. But anyway, we just got to go and do the actual outreach and get to the masses. And there's no excuse for doing anything else. So there you go. All right. Thank you, Crooklyn. Thank you there very much. Very much. I appreciate it. All right. Caleb, conservatism accrues power as liberalism dispenses it. It's a basic derivation of the terms themselves. It means that all dictators and fascist states are conservative in nature. No. I don't agree with that. At least not the liberal part. Right? Liberalism means belief in individual rights. That's basically what liberalism means, belief in individuals or individual rights. Liberal is one who is not a conformist, is one who is open-minded, can hear both sides of an argument, is not rigid, is not ideological. That's what liberalism means. And liberalism is a political philosophy that comes out of the Enlightenment. It believes in the rights of the individual, the protection of the individual from imposition by the state and wider society. And I think some liberalism was good because feudalism was a very collective and very authoritarian society. And we needed people to come along and say, you should have freedom of religion, you should have freedom of speech. The government doesn't have the right, liberalism was a necessary stage. But we are living in the era of the liberal ideology taken to its very extreme conclusion. And let me add that capitalism is liberalism. Liberal and left are not synonymous, right? Liberalism, market liberalism or neoliberalism, the idea that the government should stay out of the economy, that's largely conservatives that promote that, but that is a form of liberalism just applied to the economy. Keep the state out, let people just do what they want, right? Whereas, social liberalism is the idea that in social matters, it's your own business, right? The government shouldn't tell you what kind of marriage you can have. You can use drugs if you want. You can live your life as you want. You shouldn't be as conforming to your gender roles, etc. Right? That's the idea, right? So you have social liberalism that says you can be your own person, and society doesn't have its right to impose on you the kind of person you should be. You can be an individual. You don't have obligation to society. Economic liberalism is the idea that the market takes care of itself. We don't need the government to control the corporations. That's liberalism. Conservatism, on the other hand, is nostalgia, right? You want to conserve, right? There are good things about the world you live in, or you want to conserve. You want to conserve, right? That's conservatism, right? It is, you are holding on to what's good from the past. You are holding on to tradition, etc. Right? So neither of those terms, I don't know where you're getting this, my friend, but neither of those things are accurate. Conservatism, you could argue, is the opposite of what you might call progressivism, but it's not the opposite of liberalism, right? Liberalism is the ideology of the individual, right? You're speaking in today's terms. No, I'm not. I'm speaking in what these terms actually mean, right? In today's terms, liberal means Democrat and left, and conservative means Republican. And what I'm telling you is that in the actual definition of these terms, they don't mean that. For example, Karl Marx spends the first 3 pages of the Communist Manifesto talking about the very revolutionary role that capitalism played and why capitalism is not conservative, right? The capitalism and the free market rips apart traditional values in Europe. And I mean, if you go and read the Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx spends a whole lot of time saying that capitalism is ripping up all the things that are very important to conservatives. I'll put it on the screen for you, right? I should go to bed, but hey, what the heck, right? What the heck? I'm Caleb, and I can't help myself. I've just got to keep talking. I've just got to keep talking, right? Especially when people ask me about topics that are important to me, stuff I actually care about, right? Right? Apparently I don't care about anything. I'm just in it for my own gain. I just want attention, but no, I actually do care about certain things. And so at risk of not getting the sleep that I need, I'm going to put on the screen, here we go. All right. And then I send it to myself, and then I put it on the screen, right? All righty. Right. Here we go. Okay. All right. Hold on. I'm going to show you, right, that, you know, in our society, a conservative means that you're a believer in the free market. And if you actually understand, you know, free market capitalism, you will understand that, my goodness, here we go. Okay. You will understand that Marx spends the first, 10 pages of the Communist Manifesto saying that, that capitalism is more anti-conservative than anything else. This is what he says, right? The bourgeoisie historically has played the most revolutionary part. The bourgeoisie, wherever it has gotten the upper hand, has put an end to feudal, patriarchal, and idyllic relations. It has pitilessly torn asunder the motley feudal ties that bound man to his natural superiors, and has left remaining no other nexus between man and man than naked self-interest and callous cash payment. It has drowned the most heavenly ecstasies of religious fervor, of chivalrous enthusiasm, of Philistine sentimentalism, in the icy water of egotistical calculation. It has resolved personal worth into exchange value, and in place of the numberless, indefeasible chartered freedoms, has set up a single unconscionable freedom: free trade. In one word, exploitation, veiled by religious and political illusions. It has substituted naked, shameless, direct, and brutal exploitation. The bourgeoisie has stripped of its halo every occupation hitherto honored and looked upon with reverent awe. It has converted the physician, the lawyer, the priest, and the poet into page-wage laborers. Need I go on? He's talking about how capitalism is not conservative. But nowadays, conservatives are the ones that go around defending capitalism because the terms have a new meaning in our time. All right. Did this have anything to do with the attack on FICO? Well, the only thing that it has to do with it is that both FICO and Donald Trump have very much been critical of the hostility toward Russia. And it seems that the forces that are very opposed to Russia are all about assassination. And they have a kill list, which I'm on, which Dari Dugina was on, which, Tara Reid is on, So, yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it. You love my impression of Trotsky, right? It's so weird that certain people go on conservative podcasts where communism is the enemy. These conservative podcasts that just talk endlessly about the evils of communism, right? I mean, they're talking about, woke is all because of Stalin, and Stalin killed a gamillion people and all of this. And then this this MAGA communist goes on there and they sit across from him and they don't, suddenly all the anti-communism just disappears, right? And they just say, whoa, you're a Trump supporter and a communist. Wow. And they never ask him about Stalin killing millions of people, and they never ask him about any of that. Right? Weird. And they never give him a chance to debunk it, number one, so no one learns anything from it. But they also never actually make this person, speak about things they don't understand. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it, right? I mean, there you go, right? It's very sus, right? And the audience of conservatives that watch this never get their conservative ideas challenged. Well, it's a little interesting, right? A little interesting. And yeah, so there you go. There you go. All righty. You're speaking to today's identity politics. No, I'm not speaking to, do you listen to what I'm saying? Identity politics and liberalism I'm telling you, liberalism is the ideology of the Enlightenment. It is the individual above all else. There's economic liberalism and there is social liberalism. And both of them are celebrations of individualism. Conservatism is the idea you want to hold on to what's good, right? I'm not talking about identity politics. Identity politics and all of that is a different thing. I'm talking about what liberalism as a philosophy is, which is individualism. That's what I'm talking about, not Democrats and Republicans. It is a philosophy of individualism. Conservatives emphasize market liberalism, and Democrats and people like that and woke people emphasize social liberalism. That's what liberalism is. Liberalism is a philosophy that centers on individual rights. All right. Oh, you kept going. I think these next super chats are from you. Caleb, seems I speak a different vernacular than you do. I observe that derivation. Okay. Well, I'm just telling you what the liberal philosophy is. I'm telling you what conservatism is. right? Conservatism is holding on. It is like trying to preserve what's good, conserving, right? That's why Karl Marx spends the first few pages of the Communist Manifesto talking about how capitalism is not conservative. Liberalism is the celebration of the individual, right? And in our modern political vernacular, Republicans are conservatives, liberals are Democrats. And I would say that both are both, right? I think that the Democrats, a lot of them want to preserve certain things. They just don't want to preserve the same things that Republicans want to preserve. And I think both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party believe in the philosophy of liberalism, but the Republican Party emphasizes economic liberalism, whereas the Democratic Party emphasizes social liberalism. But at the end of the day, they both believe in the philosophy of liberalism. So, yeah, there you go. All right. Caleb, is it easy to speak past each other? I get that. It doesn't mean me, the person, to form a more perfect corporation. Yes, corporations are not people. I agree with you, but I'm just telling you in terms of political science what these terms mean. All right, my friends, thank you for all the super chats. And I see that a couple people have sent in support for this pamphlet. Again, Cash App, way to support it. I'm exhausted. I got to go to bed. It's a wild day. I must say, Donald Trump really has somebody upstairs looking after him, because that was a close one. That was a close one. Got to say that. And the idea that this is a false flag. If it was a false flag, would mainstream media be talking about this? If it was a false flag, would they have gotten his ear? This wasn't a false flag. I mean, it could have been, right? Who knows? But I really, 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 really doubt that this was a false flag. And on that note, I am going to put on the closing music. New upsurge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression. But the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. And while the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today.